when Sarah Leah's child died, she was grief-stricken. She came to her Rabbi, who was famous for working miracles, and she asked him to bring her child back to life. Rabbi, bring my child back. My precious, my dear one, bring my child back to life. If I do this, the Rebbe said, you must first bring me a mustard seed from a house where no one in the family has died. Sarah Leah rushed from the Rebbe's presence, and she went house to house. At every house she asked for, and she received mustard seeds. Yet when Sarah Leah asked if anyone in that home had known death, no one was free of death. She continued through the night, knocking on doors, always with the same result. And in the morning, she was enlightened. Returning to the Rebbe, she said, when I came to you, I was racked with grief. And now I know that I am not alone in my grief. And she became a great chassid, a great follower of the Rebbe. None of us could offer Sarah Leah a mustard seed. Each of us knows mourning. Each of us knows death. Each of us sits here at Yizkor this afternoon, and each has lost someone, a grandmother, a grandfather, a parent, a sibling, an aunt, an uncle, a child, a good friend, a role model, or generations that preceded our birth. Death has touched us too. Death has reached into our households, and we have felt that indescribable sense of absence that comes with a loss that breaks our hearts. At any moment, grief is liable to overwhelm us with the force of a physical blow to knock us down. We see something that brings us back, something that reminds us of our loss, a smell, a taste, a photo, a piece of furniture that we associate with that person in our hearts, a scrap of a conversation, a melody, a note. For me, it's my grandfather's whistle. He would always whistle, and when I hear someone whistle, I think of him. We are always liable to be brought back by grief, to feel the undercurrents of that unnerving mix of emotions. Grief racks our hearts because our whole world has been changed. There's a study about grief that says we learn about 10 times as much about life, about 10 times as much when life is good than we do when we are grieving. We learn 10 times as much when life is good than we do when we are grieving. We just don't learn as fast when we're grieving. We don't do anything as fast when we're grieving, when we are in the midst of grief. However, the study points out, the few things that we learn while we are grieving are much, much more likely to transform our character and our lives. When life is good, we gain knowledge. When life is bad, filled with sorrow, we gain wisdom. If grief is such hard work, then why do we bother? Why come to Yizkor services? Why drudge it all up again? Why talk about it when it is gone? Why talk about what is gone forever? Perhaps we have no choice. We are remembering beings. And once we have made the journey through grief, it is always a part of our daily lives. It's always part of our neshamot, our souls. For all the lack of justice and fairness and all the suffering that seems to come without warning, maybe there is something in sadness that we seek for our own sake. We come to Yizkor because we know that in our sorrow, in our remembering, in our tears, we find sweetness, we find blessing, we even find wisdom. The idea of sorrow as a blessing may seem strange. Happiness is good, sorrow is bad. And yet, I think there is a quality about sadness, its gentle tug on our hearts, which is a blessed feeling. There is something delicious about sadness. We need not seek sorrow. God knows it will come on its own accord. We have all had our measure and then some. But when it does come, when we find it in our hearts, we can greet it at the door. We can embrace it. We can embrace sorrow as we do today at Yizkor. When we feel sorrow, it is as if Sarah Leah is at our door waiting to be welcomed. Do not send her away simply because you have nothing to offer her. Tell her the emptiness that she feels is part of the sadness of the whole world, that she is not alone. Tell her that while she will never be the same, the memory of her loss will seep into her bones, and it will be turned to wisdom. Better yet, say nothing, for words can rarely approach the temple of grief. Simply be there. Simply be present to welcome sorrow, to honor it as we do at Yizkor, to use it so we can live fully in the midst of a great and mysterious emptiness, to live fully in the midst of sorrow and its gift of wisdom. May the memories of all of our loved ones teach us, remind us, bless us as they blessed our lives. Amen.